Page 1. How are you doing? We sort of discussed that, but yes. How are you doing yourself? How are you coping with isolation and not being on the road?
Well, you know something, Wade. I mean, first and foremost, it's good to talk to you. And I got to let you know I stole my mother's glasses for this. You can see by the little.
I'll join
stole
the
your
crew.
father.
Makes life easier. The writing suddenly becomes more focused and bigger.
No such thing as vanity after 45. I'm doing okay. You know, I mean, it's it's obviously a different world. We're all going through it. On a personal, the personal note was, I mean, we were out on the road when this became of pandemic size. Live Nation intervened and canceled everything around the world. I think I was coming through Charlotte, North Carolina, and I actually had some kind of a congestion, and it'd been nagging at me on the whole tour. And I was, you'd heard of the COVID thing, and so I was off in an Uber in Charlotte to go get checked out at one of these Ready Care walk-in clinic kind of things, and obviously got the clean bill of health for the COVID. But I remember I was in the back of the Uber, and my buddy Mark Mengy from BPMD said, "Uh-oh," and he sent me a link about Live Nation. I think it was on Rolling Stone, thinking about canceling all tours worldwide. And I said, all that is a heads up. All that means is today is the last day. If they're thinking about it, it's going to happen. That's as simple as it is. It's just not to be so shocking as to say, hey, everybody go home. Yeah. So we started preparing right there to head home. Now, again, I mean, this was spring, so there was some stuff to do. The leaves were coming out here in the beautiful state of New Jersey. I mean, we obviously got, hit pretty bad by April. It was bad, and then we were kind of controlling it by June. So I'm not going to say life was normal by that point because you had to be diligent. There was no great social gatherings. I mean, if I had to stop at the bar, it was out in the terrace. I'd pull the bike in, have a beer in the terrace, go to a few car shows, promote the BPMD stuff. The OverKill demos were in. I mean, so for me on a personal level, it wasn't this debilitating thing. Obviously no money coming in, but the other side of the coin is there was plenty of things to let's say stimulate the old nugget up here. So
that's what I was. One question I have is, yes, have you? This will be the longest time that you've sat still in years. How are you keeping yourself busy? But yes, you've just elaborated that. Any new hobbies? He's showing me his golf swing.
It's an old hobby I'm revisiting. It's yeah. I perfected it. In puberty, and
All right. Do you think?
No, I don't think there's. I do think that there's a couple new hobbies. And this is not to make it all about BPMD, but Mark Mengy and I get along like a couple of pirates. We're thick as thieves, And I started telling him I could cook when we were doing these BPMD things. This guy could cook. This guy would start giving me, kind of like phone cooking lessons of pasta fagioli and cooking certain seafoods and, making a different kind of sauce with, I usually use San Marzano tomatoes to make, a pasta sauce. He's like, you can't use that. You got to do this. And boy, he was spot on for the whole thing. So somewhere within this, I became a better cook. And I would think that a single guy my age would rather be out having a steak in the pub.
Yeah.
But I found myself, linguine and clam sauce, fresh clams. Oh, I'm having a seafood night. I'm making zuppa de pêche. So it was, I think that was probably one of the bigger personal enjoyments out of the whole thing was learning how to cook. And I do think that one of these days I'm going to make somebody a fine wife.
You... We got plenty of time for that. Do you do you think the whole isolation pandemic will have an effect or an influence on your songwriting for the next Overkill album?
I do. I do think so. I don't think outwardly as going after it. I mean, I think you know us long enough personally and professionally. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to write a song called, Fever 19. I mean, that's just not my thing. But I think psychologically it's had an effect because it's taken away what the norm was. Mm-hmm. So I think that when human beings get put in that position where their psyches change or the balance, I think that's the real word is balance. It's not about not being able to do things. I've been able to do things. I've not been able to do things as I know them to be, as my friends, as your friends, where we can gather, where we can backslap, where we can have a few laughs around a campfire, where we can go see a show, where we can, be at the christening or the wedding or the funeral. Those things in life are missing. So I think subconsciously, COVID for sure will affect it. And I mean, I see it already in some of the lines I'm writing for the new Overkill, that it's writing about things that are missing, and writing about achieving balance, but not writing specifically about COVID.
Yes. Cool. Very good. How far along in the recording process are you? Have you gone in yourself to do anything yet, or are you still writing?
Well, I sent it all back to Dee. I said, I'm a professional. I don't know how you expect me to write to this fucking garbage. I said, year after year, you keep sending me this subpar amateur shit. I haven't gotten to recording yet. No. I'm still, I always tear everything down and do, the big push toward the end. I mean, I'll save some of the stuff I had done early on, but the songs develop. And I think one of the unique things about being in, socially distanced with regard to bandmates, personal situation here, is that there has been no demos with Dave Linsk in the room and Jason in the room. It's been separation at this point. Mm-hmm. We were thinking of giving it a shot, but then, Dave was going to have to quarantine for 2 weeks when this was going down. And it was like, well, what are we going to do? I mean, this is not like, if we were Guns N' Roses, you could quarantine for a month at the Hilton, and who would care? But I mean, it's, people got to work, people got to do things in our configuration. So I started tearing everything down once Jason finished and Dave started getting to it, and it's given me a different perspective on it. It's for sure the record itself has got a real. It's got some original thrash roots that actually shine through on this one. Mm-hmm. But there is some serious rock and roll that's mixed with it. And I'm not saying that in each song you receive both. Some are some old school, where did you come from? I remember it was here. Those type of songs. And some are those swinging back and forth, rock and roll, heavy metal rock and roll kind of stuff that is punctuated with the aggressive nature we've always had with regard to presentation.
Good. I'm loving that. Sounding good. So what sort of a time frame are we looking at for new material from Overkill? Will it be early next year, mid next year? I suppose that would sort of judge by like the isolation process, wouldn't it? Being able to get each member to record their part.
Well, the biggest concern I have is that how this works for us is release and tour. Mm-hmm. It's just that simple. To have a record that's released with no tour that's attached to it could make it a record that's appreciated by those only who follow it closely. Mm-hmm. Not anyone else we can get on or anyone else we could reignite to get on. And this helps also with regard to, from the business end, cash flow, because you're releasing a record and you're touring, you're putting the guys to work. That's kind of what, the touring is. And it gives us visibility. And I think if we don't tour, we miss that whole segment of press, that whole segment of reviews on the live show. We miss the, hitting the U.S. once, going to Europe, hitting the West Coast in the U.S. another time, going back to Europe, hitting Asia, maybe doing Oz again. It's that momentum that gives the record legs. So we were originally slated for, I think, the 21st of April, and I fought tooth and nail to say, I said, it's a lost record if we can't stand on stages. Now, I know I'm taking a chance with it because we still may not be able to stand on a stage when we've reslated it, which would be October. Okay. But we did book shows with that release in October. So my feeling was at least it gave us a better shot to try to give the record longer legs.
Yep. Excellent. Okay. Guest vocalists. Will there be another? Is there any more? Yes. Will there be another? Is there anyone particular you would like to do material with? Like you did Randy Blythe and Mark Tornillo. They've had guest spots on OverKill material. Would there be another person that you would bring on board, or is there a particular person that you would love to do some kind of work with?
Well, I got Halford, Ozzy, Celine Dion, and Elton coming into Rocket Man. Ooh, sorry, didn't mean to hurt anybody with that little turn on that note. No, I mean, would I like to sing with other people? Of course. It's one of the reasons I do the Metal Allegiance thing with Mengi, is that it's kind of fun to be able to, I like to compete. I mean, everybody says, oh, it's just a bunch of bros, but nobody wants to fail. You want to go in there and you want to nail it. You want somebody to say, wow, you really killed it tonight. And but under these circumstances, I think the downside is that nobody's thinking about, everybody's thinking about virtually doing things, but there's no getting together with anybody at this point. So I haven't thought about anything except making a great OverKill record. Not about adding another person to it. I mean, have I thought about adding other instruments? Of course. I mean, I just saw, I forget her name, I think Katie Jacoby. She's it's kind of a metallic violinist. Okay. But you should look her up on YouTube. And she just did an entire version of Feel the Fire.
Yes,
with the whole entire vocal line done by electric violin. So does that get my head moving? Sure it does. And I think that, is that possible? It's possible. But we haven't reached out to anyone yet. We're trying to get our own ducks in a row and trying to make a great OverKill record.
Okay. Well, I put a post on my OverKill Facebook page, and I said, it was what I posted. I posted the film clip, I think it was, of with Randy, the song with Randy, Skull and Bones. And
sure.
I said, great song. Who would you love to see OverKill perform? Write another song with. And one name came up straight away. I only had a few people that answered me, but one name came up straight away, which got like after like after like. Dee Snider.
Oh, really?
Yes.
OverKill Dee Snider.
And another suggestion that was offered to me was a singer that you guys have actually toured with recently, or in recent years, from Symphony X, Russell Allen.
Oh, Russell's a great singer, man. Oh, God. I mean, I'm going to miss this Christmas because I always go see Trans-Siberian Orchestra, when they come to New Jersey. I mean, he's just one of the top performers in that whole troupe, so, I mean, Russell would be great. I mean, I remember. I'll tell you a story. The Symphony X guys live pretty close to where Dee Dee's old studio used to be, and they used to rent rehearsal rooms from Dee Dee. And so OverKill would be recording, whatever, Ironbound over here, and they would be rehearsing in the room behind us, And we'd meet out in the hallways, and somebody bring in a 12-pack, or there'd be some pizza, and you'd talk to Mike and Jason and blah blah blah, whatever. That's all. Well, we both got a gig at Heavy MTL up in Montreal. So we were both playing on the same day, and instead of flying up, we decided, hey, why don't we just share crew and rent a tour bus and have like kind of one of these like bachelor party guy things, you know what I'm saying? And I'll tell you, I mean, so on the way home, I mean, we all had bunks, the whole thing, and on the way home, we were drinking beer in the front lounge, and I was sitting across from Russell saying, okay, Freddie Mercury, I'm going to call the songs out. And he would nail them.
Yeah.
I mean, he would nail them. So it was, he is one impressive set of pipes. I totally agree. I don't know if he fits the OverKill motif, but he's really one of my favorite singers within the genre.
Cool. Very cool. Okay. On to BPMD. What was your favorite song to record?
For me, I think it was the song Evil, done, actually reimagined by Cactus back in the 70s, early 70s. Cactus was a band out of the East Coast, Long Island, New York. But the original song was written in the 1950s. It was an old blues classic written by a guy named Howlin' Wolf, I think.
Okay. I've heard that name.
Or it might have been Howlin' Wolf who actually... Howlin' Wolf performed the first one. The writer will come to me in a second. But so it was reimagining a reimagined song, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was one of my picks, and that was, and I loved that whole way that Cactus was. They were kind of like, they were almost like the American Led Zeppelin, okay. Which was somebody just walked by in the background. That's why I'm waving.
She's embarrassed. She's darted out the door.
But I think that was my favorite, and that was one of my first picks.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay, would there be a follow-up album, or was this just a one-off thing?
Well, for me, I mean, I'd do it in a second. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You just have to. I would do it in I would do it in a second. It's fun, it's like, I've said it in a ton of interviews. It's like asking me to revisit my youth. It's not hard for me to do. It's not, I don't have to overthink it. I just have to transport myself back into a place in time. I don't know if I would do another American record. I think I would do the UK. The 1970s would be killer.
Look, some Peter Green. You literally took the words out of my mouth.
Shit. I mean, how much shit came out of the UK in the 70s? The first Fleetwood Mac stuff was killer. Status Quo. I mean,
yep.
You don't even have to go into the Priest stuff. But Priest was 70s. Rock-a-Rolla, Sad Wings. I mean, that was, 1970s. How about the Deep Purple stuff? I mean, they would be like easy fits for a band like this. But boy, I mean, I would do "Roll Over" by Status Quo and
yes,
by Fleetwood Mac.
Status Quo wasn't. I didn't actually think of them, and like you took the words right out of my mouth. I have it written here somewhere. Since the debut album was based on American classics, possibly a British invasion album next. So you've just sort of said that yourself, taking it to another country.
How much stuff?
Yeah, I wrote down my examples were The Sweet. No, I'd love to hear you do Ballroom Blitz. The Beatles, The Who, Rolling Stones, Slade, T-Rex. I wrote down they were what I wrote down. So yeah.
T-Rex. I mean, unbelievable, right? I mean, that's Mark Bolan, right? Yeah. That's I mean, there's so much to choose from there. I mean, obviously it'd be up to Napalm. It was a weird time to release a record, but I do think that the positive note on that record is that it was released in the pandemic, and it had nothing to do with, hey, look at us, we're all these serious guys. It was about, hey, look at us, we never forgot where we came from. Let's have a good time.
And you can hear you having
yeah.
You can hear you're having a great time while you're doing it.
Play it in the backyard, crack a beer, shrimps on the Barbie, the whole nine. I mean, this was summertime fun, this music. And, I think it was something, for me, releasing that record in the summer said, hey, listen, this is kind of cool because it's a smile, or it's a light in the dark somewhere for somebody,
Every time I play Wang Dang Pung Tang, that intro of you screaming out that intro. And it's all adjusted to yourselves, like you've changed all the words and names that were there, and it's just spot on.
I'll tell you what, I work with this guy who's done the OverKill stuff for since Ironbound, an engineer, John Chichori, but his nickname is J-Rod, Johnny Rod. Everybody thinks he's a porn star, J-Rod. But I was standing in the vocal booth, and he was behind the board, and I was thinking, and he goes, "Just let me know when you're ready." And he's playing with his phone, and I went, "Put me in." He put me in, and that flowed out of me in one take. That whole thing. There was no going back. I said, "I think I got it. Put me in."
That's cool. That's cool. Okay. Would you guys, as BPMD, would you guys do any shows in the future? And that's, obviously once all of the pandemic is hopefully past and life goes back to a normality, in your downtime from when OverKill's touring, would be BPMD.
And Mike Portnoy with Sons of Apollo, or, if he does another Transatlantic, or who knows, or Winery Dogs record, or Mark Mengy with Metal Allegiance and all of the studio work, Phil Demo with a couple of different projects, Yep. I mean, these are busy dudes. But I'll tell you, we thought that the value in it with regard to touring would be specialty shows.
Yes.
And when we talked to Thomas from Napalm, he was really interested in signing the band. I was really impressed with his game plan. He didn't just say, "Oh, I want to sign the band." He had a game plan, and he wanted shows. So he wanted us to sign not just with Napalm Records, but with Napalm Events as BPMD, and we did. And if the pandemic didn't happen, OverKill would have been, for instance, playing Wacken this past summer. And we would try to line that up with a BPMD show if Mike and Phil were free, and Mark, if we could all get together and work out these multi-schedules. So there was always thought of doing shows. There was actually a benefit show booked, as a release party in New Jersey. It was a benefit thing. It's guys I work with out of the Old Bridge Militia, the Old Bridge Metal Militia. They go all the way back to Megaforce Records and Metallica. I mean, would stay at their house, and Slayer would do gigs in their basement. I mean, and these guys do charity for kids that provide them instruments if they can't afford. But it also provides lessons for them. It's not just, hey, I want an instrument. I mean, the kid's got to prove himself, and the parents have to prove a hardship, obviously, and the kid has to prove talent from, the music department or something like so. They have a formula for this. But they were doing a thing called the Bulldozer Bash, which usually brings 750 to 1,000 people. So that was supposed to be the first BPMD gig, and that was on Memorial Day, which is the kickoff the summer. Last weekend in May was supposed to happen, but it never did. And Will we in the future? I hope so. I mean, it sure sounds like fun, and it sure sounds like fun to have added another record so it can be more than a 30-minute set, if you know what I mean.
Yep. All right, well, for now, let's take a break. Let's play a song from the BPMD album. Let's play Evil, and we'll be back to talk with Bobby in just a moment. Okay, we're back. How you doing? For everyone who's just tuning in, you've just heard BPMD doing the old classic, Cactus classic, Evil. I've got Bobby Blitz sitting here with me at the moment.
Willie Dixon was the writer.
Okay, there you go.
Willie Dixon was the writer. Howlin' Wolf was the first performance of it.
Cool. Okay. The Cursed. And I love the Cursed album. Have you been in touch with Dan Lorenzo at all in regards to the second album? I did ask.
I'm surprised I'm not wearing my Vessel of Light shirt. I have so many goddamn Vessel of Light shirts. I'm always in touch with Dan.
Yep.
He actually sent me some stuff today about videos of him playing basketball. He's still very athletic, young man. He's busy with Vessel of Light. I think it's a great band. I think he found a great partner in Nathan Opposition. He's a great kid too, Nathan. And Dan, I mean, how many records do they have? They've only been a couple of years. I think they're in their third record at this point, their third release. Is there another Cursed record? If it was up to Dan, there'd be another Cursed record every 8 months. If it's up to me, I kind of like thinking of how it went at that particular time and how fun it was, instead of trying to relive that whole thing. Mm-hmm. I'll never say never, but if I had to flip a coin, I would pick no.
Okay, no, not a problem there. All right, I have some listener questions. I also have a couple of guys that said to say hello. Chris Marek of Marek Media, which you met today. He said to say hello, and Cameron Edney, the photographer who came in down in Sydney. They both said to say, hey man.
He was in the pit. I remember him, and I've known Chris for years. Chris has done a whole bunch of great stuff for OverKill.
And he's just done the BPMD stuff as well.
Yes, that's right. Give him both my hello, please.
Will do. Okay, listener questions. Carlos from Mexico. Now, Carlos is a lovely guy, and he asked me this months ago. And as I've told you, I've had so many internet issues and computers breaking and dying, and so this question has been a huge delay, but I'm finally there, Carlos, if you are listening.
Hola, caprone!
Who wrote all the lyrics for the first 5 albums?
First 5 OverKill records?
Yes, sorry.
Carlos, una regla. Yo soy el jefe. I don't have. It was a split. I became more proficient with lyrics as it went on. By the 5th record, which would have been Horoscope, I'd written all of the lyrics. It was more of committee prior to that. For instance, I wrote Feel the Fire. For instance, I finished Hammerhead, but it wasn't my title. And I didn't write one of the verses. That was Bobby Gustafson. Dee Dee Verney had written Fatal of Swallowed, almost start to finish. Now, I would tailor them to myself. I would have them in front of me. But I was totally new to lyric writing and understanding where the melodies fit in there. All I understood really was rhythm. So I would take out some of their longer words and I would chop them up so I could sing on drum beats, like so. I was involved in every song. I think except for Fatal of Swallowed, and I could be wrong here and there about a few things. I know Bobby was he had chosen the title Electro-Violence, for instance. He was instrumental in titles for the Years of Decay. His title was Skull Crusher, I think Elimination. But I wrote the lyrics to those, if that makes any sense. So it was a committee helping out kind of a thing. It was kind of getting on the same page. I don't think I've ever taken credit for all of them, but by the time we'd gotten a horoscope, it was pretty much my baby. I mean, I would ask the other guys, what do you think of this? Or do you have an idea? Could you throw something in? Yeah. Sid Falk was always had ideas, would love to throw something in. Canavino liked throwing stuff in. Yep. Canavino actually did a whole bunch of stuff with the song Infectious, but as to my knowledge or to my memory, the lyrics were, I'm going to say 90% mine. So by the time Horoscope came along, I was the lyric and the melody guy.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, good. Yes, Carlos, there you go, buddy. I told you I'd ask the question. Okay.
Gracias, amigo.
My boss, Crazy Ivan at BrainGell Radio, has asked me, can you name all 5 Spice Girls?
Old Spice, Scary Spice, Shitty Spice.
There was 5.
Slutty Spice. Virgin Mary Spice.
There you go.
You know, Old Spice is a deodorant here.
Yes, it's the little white.
Okay, I have the same thing. Because I've been doing the Old Spice thing since they were out there. It's like, which one's that? I said, I think it's Old Spice.
Oh, boy. Pete, the artist, Pete Stash, he asks, why haven't your guitarists made the New York Police Department OverKill, the badges, guitar picks with the badge on them? He says that the New York Police Department badge is a perfect shape for a guitar pick.
I never thought of it, but he's 100% correct. I don't have an answer. I mean, I only have excuses, because that's a very good question, and that will be brought up to my guitar playing bass playing partner of the last approximate 40 years, saying that would look really cool, because for sure it would.
Yep.
The exact shape.
That is it, my friend. I have
You're
come
kidding.
to the end of my questions.
I bought like 12 beers. I thought we were going to be on here all night.
All good things must come to an end. We've actually been talking for 45 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely. I mean, it's good to catch up with you. I mean, we always appreciate all the support you've given us down there. That's awesome. And the Gel Radio, the BrainGell Radio is killer. I mean, I always hear good things about it. So we're happy to hear you're doing well and everybody's happy and healthy and safe. So
you too.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to fade out. We'll go out with an OverKill song from the last album, The Wings of War. And I'm just flicking through. What song would you like to hear?
Oh God, Wade, you got to pick one. I picked Evil.
I always pick this one song every time I come to the new album, the last album. This song comes straight to my mind. It's called Welcome to the Garden State.
There you go.
This is OverKill.
Punk on your Australian airs.
Thank you very much for your time, Bobby.
My pleasure, bro.